When a Bentley breaks down, the sun bled into the horizon, staining the Texas sky a deep, uneasy orange as Jasmine Crockett's vintage Bentley shuddered once, twice, then died with a final metallic gasp on a desolate back road. Dust swirled around her as she stepped out, designer heels clicking against cracked asphalt, anger still burning from the courthouse verdict where justice had once again been manipulated by wealth and power. No self-service. No passing cars. Nothing but telephone poles stretching into nowhere. And then she saw it, a weathered wooden sign swinging from one rusted chain above a corrugated tin building. Grayson's Auto. The garage door groaned as she pushed it open, revealing a dim space that smelled of oil, old rubber, and decades of work. Footsteps approached, slow, steady. A man stepped out from behind an old truck, tall but slightly hunched, wearing a dirty cap, hands black with grease. Walter Grayson. He didn't offer a handshake, didn't ask if she needed water, just gave the Bentley a quick glance, let out a quiet grunt, and walked straight toward it like it was any other machine. "Afternoon," he said, voice rough like sandpaper. "Hey." Jasmine nodded. Steady. That was it. Nothing warm, but somehow enough. Walter popped the hood without ceremony. No diagnostic tool, no laptop, just fingers tracing along hoses, tapping valves, listening to the machine like it was speaking a language only he understood. No wasted motion, no showmanship, just pure focus, as if the rest of the world had been turned off. Jasmine had spent years reading people in high-stakes courtrooms. Everything about Walter Grayson said, "This man doesn't care who you are or what you've done. He only cares if it's broken and if it can be fixed." Most people either praised or judged her the moment they recognized her name, especially after that high-profile case where she'd gone head-to-head with the state prosecutor. But Walter hadn't even asked who she was, and somehow that felt like oxygen. After several minutes of methodical movement, he reached down, tightened something with a firm twist, and stepped back. "Found it," he said quietly, almost to himself. Then, without looking at her, "So, what do you do?" "I'm a lawyer. Civil rights. Mostly the kind nobody wants. Wrongful arrests, police cases. Stuff that gets ugly." He gave a quiet grunt. Not surprise, not judgment, just acknowledgement. Tough business. Someone's got to do it. "I respect that," he said, still focused on the engine. "Lot of people talk. Not many do." "Yeah, well, doing it doesn't make you popular." Walter nodded. "No, it makes you tired." That hit harder than she expected. She watched his worn hands, his stained shirt, the lines on his face that seemed etched by years of squinting through heat and noise. She thought about her day, the judge who barely let her speak, the jury avoiding her eyes, the officer who lied without flinching. "It's not about what's right anymore," she said. "It's about who's louder, who's richer, who gets to walk out smiling." "Yeah," Walter replied, wiping his hands. "Truth doesn't win. Not unless it's useful. I didn't go to law school to play games. And I didn't open this shop to fix trash. But here we are." They shared a quiet moment. Two people from different worlds, both worn down by systems that didn't care who they crushed. Walter had just finished tightening the last bolt when he paused. His hand gripped the edge of the car for balance. Then came the cough, deep, rough, like something stuck inside that had been there too long. When it stopped, he stood still, breathing carefully through his nose. "You all right?" Jasmine asked, her tone steady. Walter gave a tired smile. "Just a cough. Old man lungs. Been like this a while." "Doesn't mean it's nothing." "No, it doesn't, but I've carried worse than this." No drama in his voice. Just facts, like someone who didn't trust the luxury of complaining. "You ever get it checked out?" she asked. Walter shook his head. "Ain't got time for hospitals. Don't got the money either. I know what they'll say anyway." "What's that?" "That something's broken and I can't afford to fix it." The engine gave a low, clean hum as Walter stepped back, wiping his hands. Jasmine reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her wallet, holding out folded bills, payment for time, for effort. "How much?" she asked. Walter glanced at the money, then back up at her, and shook his head. "Don't worry about it." "I do worry about it. You fixed it. You should be paid." Didn't take long. Just a loose clamp. Few minutes of listening, that's all. She didn't move. The money stayed in her hand. Still, your hands did the work. That means something. He looked at her for a long second, then said quietly but firmly, "If you really want to pay me, next time you're driving through, bring me a coffee. Black, no sugar. None of that sweet foam crap. Just strong and hot." Jasmine blinked, then slowly closed her wallet. "All right. Black coffee. No sugar. Just how you like it." Walter gave her a nod and then something rare, a small smile. Not polite, not performative. Just real. That's worth more to me than the bills in your pocket. 4 days later, Jasmine left the city early, a coffee tray on her passenger seat. 2 cups still steaming. Black, no sugar. She turned onto that same crack road, but something was off. The garage was dark. No noise. No tools clinking in rhythm. The sign taped to the window made her stop cold, close until further notice. Across the street, an old man was sweeping outside a small general store. He looked up as she approached. "Excuse me, do you know what happened to the man who runs a garage?" "Walter Grayson." The old man nodded, his face folding into something sad. "You just missed him. Ambulance came a few nights ago. He collapsed right there in the shop. Still had the wrench in his hand. They said, 'Is he all right?' They took him to County General. It's not the first time he's had trouble breathing, but this one looked bad. Should have seen a doctor years ago, but he wouldn't go. Said he couldn't afford to be sick." County General was cold and quiet. The receptionist barely looked up as Jasmine approached. "I'm looking for a patient, Walter Grayson. Admitted a few nights ago. Room 217. End of the hall. Stable, but you missed visiting hours." "I'm not here to visit," Jasmine replied, her voice low. "I'm here to remind someone he's not invisible." Walter lay in the hospital bed, wires taped to his arms, oxygen hooked under his nose, eyes half open, watching shadows on the ceiling. "Didn't think you were the type to take a break," she said, breaking the silence. Walter turned his head with effort. Something lit behind his eyes, recognition, maybe even relief. A faint smile. "Car breakdown again?" "No, still running smooth." "Then why are you here?" "Because not everything that breaks makes noise. And some things need fixing more than a car." Walter closed his eyes briefly. "I told them I didn't need a hospital. Told the medics I'd be fine." "You passed out in your own garage, Walter. That's not fine." "I've been poor my whole life," he said after a moment, "and I don't need anyone rescuing me now." "Why? What's the difference between help and care?" Walter let out a breath. "Because I've worked too damn long to start owing people now. Because taking money means admitting I can't stand on my own 2 feet anymore. And I'm not ready to say that. Not yet." She didn't respond right away, because she knew what this was. Not just pride, but survival. The kind that comes after decades of being overlooked and told to wait your turn. "You ever wonder why nobody showed up before me?" she asked softly. "Why the waiting room's empty? Why the only person bringing you coffee is a stranger with a broken Bentley?" He didn't answer. "It's not right," she continued. "You spend your life holding things together and then fall apart in silence." Walter looked at her again, his mask cracking just enough. "I didn't do it to be remembered." "But you deserve to be," Jasmine replied. "And I don't care what you think about charity. You didn't ask for anything. That's why I'm offering." He smiled again, a sad one this time. "You don't give up easy, do you?" "No," she said, "not when something's worth fighting for." By the time she reached her apartment, the plan had shape. Not a rescue, not a handout. Something bigger, something that could last. Within a week, money started moving. Calls to people who owed her favors, not politically, but personally. Journalists, organizers. One foundation director who once cried in open court after Jasmine got her brother's sentence overturned. "I'm not asking for donations," she told them. "I'm asking you to invest in knowledge, in work, in real skills. You say you care about second chances. Prove it." She drove back to the garage on a Sunday before dawn. The building stood there silent, stubborn, sagging, but it wouldn't be forgotten. Not on her watch. She didn't tear anything down. Didn't paint it pretty. The outside stayed the same, grit and all. Inside, she cleaned, cleared out junk, rewired lighting, but left the benches scratched, left the tool racks uneven, left the faint oil stains on the floor because they were part of the story. Back in the city, she put out feelers. Not on social media, not in press releases. She went to places where headlines never reached, youth centers, community kitchens, halfway houses. She talked to people who didn't trust easy, kids who looked at her like another suit with a smile. But she wasn't selling a dream. She was offering work. You want to learn something real, she'd say. Something that can't be outsourced, replaced, or done by a machine. Some walked away. Some stared blankly. But a few, just enough, nodded. One of them was Malik, 19. 1 juvenile record, 2 years of sleeping in his cousin's car. 0 trust in anything. Jasmine gave him an address, a time, and a promise. No lectures, no handouts, just tools and a chance to learn. The next day, he showed up early. Then came another, and another. A local reporter called asking if this was part of a rebranding effort. She hung up on him. A city councilman offered support in exchange for a photo op. She told him he wasn't invited. This wasn't politics. It was personal. A tribute to a man who asked for nothing and deserved more than most. 3 weeks after his discharge, Walter Grayson returned to Grayson's auto on a gray morning that smelled like rain and rust. He moved slower now, a cane in one hand, stubbornness in the other. Jasmine didn't meet him at the door. She let him walk in on his own. Let him hear it first, the sound of sockets clinking, drills spinning, a half-laugh curve from someone struggling with a strip bolt. Walter froze at the threshold. Inside his shop were 6 teenagers crouched around 2 engine blocks, grease on their hands, sweat on their brows, eyes locked in focus. Malik was showing a younger kid how to angle a ratchet. Across the room, someone was rebuilding a carburetor with shaking fingers. What the hell is this? His voice wasn't loud, but it cracked through the garage like a dropped wrench. The kids froze. Tools paused midday. Jasmine stepped out from the office, holding a clipboard. This is your legacy. His jaw tightened. My garage wasn't a daycare. No, Jasmine said. It was a lifeline. You just didn't know how far it reached. Walter looked around again. Nothing was shiny. Nothing was fake. But it was different. You changed it. No, I built on it. You laid the foundation. Walter, I just opened the doors. He didn't answer right away, just looked at the kids. Malik, who nodded cautiously, a girl in flannel watching closely, waiting to be yelled at. And Walter saw what Jasmine knew he would. Not mess, not chaos, but hunger. Hunger for skill, for belonging. The same hunger he carried when he first opened that garage 50 years ago with nothing but a tool belt and grit. They don't know a damn thing, he muttered. Then teach them, Jasmine said. The right way. The way you were taught, or maybe the way you wish you'd been. Walter didn't say yes. Not with words. He never did. But the next morning, he was back at the shop in that same flannel shirt, cane tapping on concrete. He saw a kid, maybe 17, struggling with a brake caliper, hands shaking, socket slipping. Walter sighed loud enough to turn heads. The boy looked up, startled. You're holding it wrong, Walter muttered. That wrench is going to strip the bolt. He knelt slowly, painfully, and reached for the wrench, turning it in the boy's hand. Hey, thumb on top, elbow locked. Let the torque do the work, not your wrist. He tightened the bolt in one clean motion, then leaned back. Now you try. This time it held. The bolt clicked into place with a satisfying snap. The kid's face lit up like someone had handed him a secret. Walter didn't call it teaching. He barked when they got it wrong, mocked them when they fumbled basic tools. That's not a wrench. That's a paperweight if you use it like that. He'd snap. If you don't care about the job, then go home. This isn't a shortcut shop. But he never walked away. He showed them where to listen to the engine, not just look at it. Every bolt had a story, every leak had a reason, and every machine was just waiting for someone to listen hard enough. He made sure these kids earned it. Not because he didn't believe in them, but because he wanted them to believe in themselves when no one else would. And they came back every morning, earlier than asked, staying later than needed, bringing notebooks, drawing diagrams, asking questions not just about how to fix something, but why it broke in the first place. One afternoon, Walter was leaning over an old Ford with Malik. The carburetor adjustment wasn't going well. You listening to me or just waiting for me to shut up? Walter pulled back, exasperated. I'm listening. I haven't done it before. That's the whole point of being here. You haven't done it. That's why I'm showing you. I know, Malik snapped back, but I didn't grow up around this stuff. I don't have a dad who showed me how to hold a socket wrench. I'm trying. Walter stared at him. The garage went still. Then Walter nodded. Just once. Trying's good, he said. But doing's better. Come here. Watch again. And he showed him slower this time. Not because Malik needed it slower, but because Walter knew what it felt like to need someone to believe you were worth the time. They didn't put up the new sign until a month later. Not flashy, just thick with carved by hand, letters painted in the same deep red Walter had once used to stencil his name on toolboxes 50 years ago. Grayson Garage and Training House. Since 1974. Fixing more than engines. There was no ribbon cutting, no council speech, no camera crews. The story didn't need headlines. Headlines never came for people like Walter anyway. Not when they built instead of boned. Yet the lot was fuller than ever. Word had spread quietly through whispers and halfway houses, text thread between social workers, benches at bus stops. I heard there's a place where they'll teach you real work if you're willing to sweat for it. 1 year after Jasmine first brought coffee to a hospital room, the garage hummed like a living machine. In Bay 2, a 1991 Cadillac sat on jacks. 14s argued about brake lines. Walter said if we mess up again, we're going to be washing parts until next month. One girl said, wiping sweat from her forehead. A boy grinned. You mean I'm going to be washing parts? You're his favorite. I am not. You totally are. You listen. That's what makes her the favorite. Walter barked from across the room. The room cracked up, but under the laughter was reverence. Walter had become something none of them expected. Proof. Proof that survival wasn't about perfection. That dignity didn't come from degrees or clean records. It came from being needed and being willing. One evening, long after the kids had gone home, Walter stood alone in the garage, staring up at the new sign. You think they get it? He asked, not turning. Get what? Jasmine replied from the office steps. What this place is. What it means. She walked over. Maybe not yet, but they will. They feel it. Walter nodded slowly. I thought I'd be forgotten by now. You were never the kind of man easy to forget. He gave a small, tired smile. I'm still a pain in the ass. Exactly. For the first time in decades, Walter Grayson didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. The sky above the garage dimmed, streaked with gold and smoke blue. Inside, the tools had been cleaned, bays swept, the radio off. Walter was locking up for the night, cane in one hand, the door stub and frame in the other. The new sign caught the last bit of sunlight, and in its reflection, for just a breath, he didn't see the cracked walls or rusted corners. He saw something whole, alive, bigger than him. This story isn't about fixing a car. It never was. It's about what gets left behind when the world moves too fast. It's about the kind of person who works with their hands while others build empires from paper and power. Walter Grayson never asked to be a symbol. He just wanted to wake, to teach, to be useful in a world that had decided men like him didn't matter anymore. Jasmine saw what most people miss. Not just a man, but a systemic failure standing on 2 feet. A life built with dignity that was one hospital bill away from vanishing. Because once she took what Walter built and opened it to those cast aside, a chain reaction started. Quiet but unstoppable. Walter didn't need a handout. What he needed, what everyone like him needs, was for the world to stop pretending that only the loudest voices matter. Jasmine didn't fix him. She didn't save him. She listened to him. She amplified him. And in doing so, she created something radical, a space where broken things, including people, didn't get discarded. They got rebuilt. No branding. No charity gala. Just work. Hard, messy, honest work that stains your hand but leaves something behind long after you're gone. Real justice doesn't arrive with a press release. It shows up in dirty hands, tired backs, and voices that say, I see you. I know you. You're still here. And you're not done yet. So fix something. Teach someone. Open a door. Wipe the dust off a forgotten name. Because legacies don't build themselves. People do. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell.